Never disrespect Mona Kimura. Here's what happens. The internet broke when they saw what Mona Kimura could do with her legs. At 23 years old from a quiet Japanese town nobody had heard of. Undefeated, untested at the highest levels, and carrying a fighting style so unusual that 50 Cent stopped scrolling. The gaming community named her after a Street Fighter character, and combat sports fans worldwide are still debating whether what they're watching is even real. In this video, you're about to witness what happens to fighters who thought they'd seen everything about Mona Kimura. Ogiwara had professional experience of the composure of someone who had broken debut fighters before. She had every reason to walk into Korakuen Hall confident. Yuka had been competing professionally since Mona was still collecting junior medals. She didn't come blind. She came with weeks of preparation and a game plan built specifically to shut down those kicks. Seto Kawazawa walked in with 42 professional fights, a championship belt, and 2 decades of knowing exactly how to expose young fighters who aren't ready for the real thing. And Eunji Choi flew in from South Korea as a reigning international champion, the most dangerous opponent Mona had ever faced, certain that her aggression and credentials would be enough to end the hype permanently. Every single one of them was prepared. Every single one of them was certain. But what happened to them shocked the combat world. Welcome to Punch Club, fellas. Here we go. Ogiwara, Crush, 167, November 16, 2024. There is a specific kind of pressure that lives inside Korakuen Hall on fight night. The crowd is close. The lights are tight, and when a debut fighter walks through that curtain for the first time, the room has a way of telling you exactly who you are before the bell even sounds. On November 16, 2024, Mona Kimura, 23 years old, walked in to find out. On the other side of the ring stood Ogiwara, an experienced, composed fighter who treats debut opponents as a known quantity. Young fighters are predictable. The pressure gets to them. But Mona Kimura wasn't just any young fighter. Ogiwara had no way of knowing that pressure was the only thing Mona Kimura had never been afraid of. 7 All-Japan Junior Karate titles, a National Boxing Championship at 19, the IBA World Championship in Istanbul wearing Japan's national kit. The walk to a professional kickboxing ring was not the most weight she had ever carried, not even close. The bell rang, southpaw stance, and she started doing the thing that would make her famous. Sidekicks delivered from an almost architectural stillness. The foot snapping out before Ogiwara could read the setup, retracting and firing again before any counter could form. Not combinations, not scrambles, the same precise instrument applied over and over until the math ran out. The left straight came down the middle. Ogiwara's legs went. Referee stoppage 1 minute and 32 seconds. The arena reacted. Someone pulled out a phone, hit record and post, and by the time the night was over, the footage had already left the building and the country. That was the night the internet found her. What stopped people scrolling wasn't the finish. Knockdowns happen every weekend. It was the texture of how she moved those sidekicks, repeating from a southpaw stance. Each one arriving in the same window, same height, same snap, like a machine calibrated for one specific purpose and built never to stop. The gaming community made the connection first. Street Fighter, Chin-Li, the Hyakure Tsukyaku, the 100 rending kicks of button-smashing fantasy for 30 years, suddenly walking around in a real human body. Combat sports accounts amplified it. Mainstream social followed. Then 50 Cent posted his reaction and introduced a Japanese kickboxer 3 months into her career to an audience that had never heard of Crush, never heard of Korakuen Hall, but knew instantly they were watching something different. Fame at that level isn't a reward, it's a target. Every coach now had footage. Every future opponent had a counter to build. The element of surprise that made the debut so decisive was gone, which meant one thing had to replace it. Fight 2 is about to answer that question one way or the other. Yuka, Crush 170, January 26, 2025. 10 weeks before the debut in this moment in professional fighting, that is not much time for Mona Kimura. It was enough time for everything to change. Yuka was not a hand-picked soft touch. She had been competing professionally while Kimura was still accumulating junior karate medals. She understood distance. She understood rhythm. And unlike Ogiwara, she had to spend weeks before this fight doing homework, watching the debut from every angle, mapping the timing of the kicks, identifying the windows that might exist if the pressure came from the right direction. The plan was built around one idea: don't let her breathe, push forward, collapse the range, force the fight into a space where those long, sweeping side kicks became awkward, and the experience gap could mean something. What she found was that Kimura had answers she hadn't seen on film. Every push forward was met with a front kick that reset the range before Yuka could settle. Every time distance opened back up, the side kicks returned with same precision, same timing, same problem. The footage hadn't shown the full picture because the footage only captured what the debut opponent had encountered. Kimura had more than one layer, and Yuka was now discovering that in real time. Then the hands came out. The ears inside amateur boxing gyms, sharp, educated punches that landed in the pockets between kick exchanges, keeping Yuka constantly recalibrating, never finding the stable rhythm she needed to build pressure from. She couldn't get close enough to hurt. She couldn't stay far enough to avoid being hit. Every round ran out the same way.
あそこでよりしつこくですね、距離を取らずに、さらに詰めていくつもりで。
Unanimous decision, 3 judges, all 3 in favor of Kimura. The native that a one-fight viral moment could produce had been quietly dismantled. This wasn't a highlight clip fighter. This was a technically complete professional who could solve problems in real time, round after round, against an opponent who knew exactly what she was bringing. 2 down, undefeated, untouched as a professional. But the promotion wasn't done asking questions yet, and the next one was the sharpest of all. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of you watch without subscribing. It costs you nothing but makes a huge difference to us. Thanks a lot. Muchly appreciated. Now, back to the video. Satoko Ozawa crushed 177 June 27, 2025. 42 professional fights. That number matters in ways that don't always show up on a highlight reel. 42 fights means you've been through the scrambles, the cuts, the moments where your body is telling you one thing and the situation demands another. It means you've been down, you've been hurt. You have survived enough rounds to know the difference between a fighter who looks dangerous and a fighter who actually is. Satoko Ozawa, 41 years old, former KBKB women's bantamweight champion, had earned every one of those fights the hard way. He was now matched against a professional who had 2 fights on a record. On paper, Ozawa was the most dangerous test of Kimura's early career by a significant margin. After the bell rang, inside the ring, the first round told a different story. Kimura planted her southpaw stance and immediately started controlling the geometry of the fight. Side kicks and front kicks targeted Ozawa's midsection, not just scoring but dictating. Every time the veteran tried to close the gap and bring her experience to bear, a kick forced a reset. The left straight was there the moment the guard adjusted to handle the low attacks. Patient, layered, methodical in a way that did not look like a 23-year-old with 2 professional fights. Ozawa kept coming. That is what 42 fights gives you, the ability to absorb and keep moving even when the exchanges are going against you. But the accumulation was visible. By the end of the first round, the area around her right eye had begun to tell the story the scorecards were already writing. The ringside doctor checked the damage between rounds. The fight continued. Kimura didn't change anything. Same stance, same distance control, same kicks, same left hand, same pressure applied to the same places. A minute and 8 seconds into the second round, the cuts around Ozawa's eye made the decision for everyone. The referee stepped in. It was over. She took the microphone. The crowd went quiet. 4 words. Welcome to Mona World. 3 professional fights, 3 wins. The most experienced opponent she had ever faced had just been stopped, and the questions about whether those kicks could hold up at this level had finally gone quiet. The only question left was what happened when she stepped out of the building she had already conquered and into a bigger one. Eunji Choi, K1 Genki 2026, April 11, 2026. 3 fights into her professional career, Mona Kimura left Korakuen Hall behind. K1 Genki 2026 at Yoyogi in central Tokyo was a different level of event. 3 world title fights on the card. A production built for a broadcast and an audience that extended well beyond the regular Crush faithful. Kimura wasn't the main event, but she was the fight people were already discussing before the doors opened, and the promotion knew exactly what they had when they put her name on the card. Waiting for her was Eunji Choi, reigning Max FC Women's Bantamweight champion out of South Korea. A title holder with legitimate credentials and a style built to apply pressure, low kicks, forward movement, physical aggression, designed to disrupt timing and make technical fighters uncomfortable. Choi had beaten people by taking away the space they needed and turning the fight into something ugly and relentless. The room had a quiet question it was turning over. 3 fights inside one promotion against domestic opponents was one thing. A reigning international champion on a K1 stage was something else entirely. The first exchange answered it. The kick was already moving before Choi had a range. Then it landed again. Then again. The Mona kick was what the Japan press had taken to calling the side kick she had been using since the debut. Operated differently here than it had in her previous fights because Kimura was applying it differently, not just as a scoring technique, but as a conversation. Every time Choi's weight shifted forward, the kick was there to intercept it. Every time Choi tried to read the timing and come through the middle, the kick adjusted its target and the left straight followed. Choi was not passive about it. She threw low kicks to the lead leg, trying to make Kimura pay for standing sideways. She pushed forward behind looping hooks in the second round, looking to get underneath the side kicks and force a clinch, but each attempt ran into the same problem. Kimura stayed composed, used the lead leg as a physical barrier, and the left hand came over the top of whatever Choi threw. Rhythm was almost circular. A kick to stop the entry, a straight to punish the hesitation, a reset, then the whole sequence again. By the 3rd round, Choi needed a single defining moment to shift the scorecards. Kimura spent 3 minutes making sure she never found it. 3 judges, 3 scorecards, all reading 30-27. Unanimous decision, K1 debut. Reigning international champion, shot out across every round. She had arrived at the largest stage of her career against the most decorated opponents she had ever faced and produced the most dominant performance of her professional life. Every question the room had carried into the building left unanswered into the other direction. She wasn't ready for this level. She had been ready for a level beyond it. Ogiwara had the experience. Yuka had the strategy. Ozawa had the championship pedigree and 42 fights worth of hard-earned knowledge. Choi had the title, the credentials, and the belief that aggression and preparation would be enough. In the end, they all shared the same fate. Their confidence walking in, their certainty that they had found the blueprint, their game plans built on footage they had watched 100 times. All of it collapsed the moment that southpaw stance locked in and the kick started coming. Because that is what Mona Kimura does. She doesn't just beat opponents, she dismantles everything they believe about themselves before they step into that ring. 4 fights, 4 wins, 0 losses, and she is 25 years old. The internet called her Chin Lee. Her opponents have been finding out she is something far more dangerous than a nickname. Something that 4 prepared, experienced, decorated fighters could not solve between them. Mona World is not a catchphrase, it never was. It's a warning, and the rest of the division is only beginning to understand what that means. If you want to know more stories about other fighters on our channel, you've got to check this video. This is Punch Club, fellas. If y'all got any ideas, drop your thoughts in the comments section below. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.